the livestock didn't survive.
But their livestock was valuable. I can't believe they did that to their poor animals.
They became
Why not?
sick.
Maybe their children would be a better idea.
Little brothers and little sisters.
There you
That's
go.
why you share them. That's why you fix it.
We have to stop.
Right. Well, you missed all the wind and fun down there, and you came back after everybody was picking up. So
Hey,
well, let's see here. It is right at 10 o'clock here, at least in our time, Central Standard Time. We'll give everybody 60 seconds to jump on. Those that have not, if you need to do anything, we have 60 seconds. But we are recording. Well, let's go ahead and, as other people come straggling on here this morning, those of you that are on time, we very much appreciate it. I know there are other meetings going on that may be stringing on just a few extra minutes, so there may be some people populating here shortly. So my name is Brett Augustine, a recovery business advisor for North Central Texas Small Business Development Center, which is a leading provider for assistance for small businesses. We are grant funded, which allows us to offer these services and many others at no cost to you. And today, speaking of really amazing people, we have Miss Lorna Kibbe back, who's going to be talking about how to be a good teammate and a good person. And we're looking forward to that. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat room. We'll be going over that here shortly and sometimes during, but usually we'll hold our questions till the end. And whenever Ms. Kibbe needs to jump out, she will. But with that said, if you don't know who she is, she's been giving us a great series lately on being professional in general. And this is a continuation of extending that to teammates and being good people yourselves as well. So let's do this. She is also the ASBCD conference speaker. She's been one for many years, 10 years experience working at the SBDC Florida Gulf Coast University. And if that's not enough, she's also a leadership expert, which is why we're really happy to have her today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Lorna Kibbe.
thank you. Good to see everybody. Thank you, William. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. So are you ready for that?
I'm ready. You go right ahead.
All right. I don't have screen sharing capability right now.
One moment, please, and I will.
One moment, please, and we'll get that fixed. Brett, I just want you to know, every time you say that you are a recovery business advisor, I hear a recovering business.
No, actually, I'm just a recovery business advisor.
Is it just me? I mean,
recovering from the corporate world. Yeah.
So someone's going down on the share screen and opening up permission to share. This is our first time using Zoom, which I love Zoom, but we want to have a few little things figuring out, I see, so no problem. So today we're going to be talking about how to be a good teammate. This is part of our Improving Your Professional Image series. And this is a good one. Today, you're going to leave understanding what makes a good team, what the qualities and characteristics are of a good team, and how you fit into that, and what you can do to really be a good teammate, which in turn makes you a good person, which that's a good thing. I'm still waiting for that screen share capability. While I'm doing that, I'll show you this book. It's called The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. You've probably heard of it. It's been on the bestseller list for a lot of years, I think like 20 years, by Patrick Lencioni. And I just want to, qualify that I am a licensed provider and accredited facilitator for the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team that is based on this. So the material that I'm sharing with you today, if you're going, oh my goodness, she's stealing Patrick Lencioni's stuff. I'm not stealing it. I'm licensed. I'm licensed to do this. So no worries. I'm not sure who's controlling the screen here, but if you go down to share screen, you should be able to open it up to allow anyone to share their screen. So is that you, Judy?
She's working on it right now.
She's working on it. Okay. So you Mike could even make me a co-host. That would work. But I'm going to go ahead and start talking, and then we'll get the screen share as soon as we can. So things have changed in the world today, haven't they? A little bit? Yeah. There are dramatic changes in the workplace, actually. Some of them are caused by technology advances. That's really changed the way we do business, right? It's incredible. Even the time zone thing is just still mind-blowing. You know, it's like, I'm in Eastern time. I have to be so careful with my calendar, you know, because you're Central time, and, you know, globalization has opened up everything. It's very interesting how that's really changed the world of work in the face of things that we do. Organizational structures have changed. They're becoming more lean. And COVID, I mean, that just adds a whole nother dimension, because that is really challenging us to even determine where we work. Do we have to work from an office building downtown, or can we, I see I can share, I'm going to share my screen now. Or can we just work, you know, hybrid, some from home, some from an office? Can you see my screen? Everything good? All right.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So yes, dramatic changes in the workplace. And all of this is changing the way that we participate on teams. Remember this? I mean, it used to be that we had all these little silos, right? All these little teams of people, and everybody on the team had something in common, and they were all together, and you didn't really switch from team to team. You know, you stayed exactly where you were. But what's happening now is this. When you look at this picture, what you see is that people are all mixed up on teams, right? They have shared values, they have transparent goals, and they have more information flow. We're being asked to work on all kinds of teams now, and we're being asked to mix it up. You may work on several different teams. As a matter of fact, you probably do work on more than one team. So this is really changing the face of teamwork. We have to think about, how do we become a good team member when we have all of this going on, and whoever's on our team today may not be on our team tomorrow. It may be, we may be bringing new people in all the time. We know, if you're a fan of the, you know, the stages of team growth, that anytime a new member comes in, it just really shakes things up. And today it's just commonplace. That's really changing everything. I love this quote from Ken Blanchard: "None of us is as smart as all of us." And when we talk about the value of teams, you know, I usually have to start out convincing people that teams are good. Not everybody likes being on a team, you know, not everybody sees the value of it. Frankly, it's hard, you know, to participate in an effective way on a team. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of different people and personalities, and it's not that easy. I have to show you this because this is funny. I was at a conference, and I was a volunteer for the Association of Talent Development. My job was to bring people into the room and make sure they had a seat. The session has started. This guy walked in, he needed a chair. There are no chairs open. I'm trying to find him a chair, and I look at him and say, holy cow, that's Ken Blanchard. That's Ken Blanchard, my hero. Oh my gosh. So I had a great time, you know, taking pictures with him, and he was really a sport about all of it, as you can see. I got to sit right next to Ken Blanchard. It was fun. But teams have a lot of value for us. They increase our productivity. We don't think about it all the time, but we're much more productive with a team. We have a lot more capacity, innovation, new ideas when we work together as a team. We do work that ordinary groups can't do when we're working on a team. We're more creative, more efficient, make better use of resources on a team. Teams make higher quality decisions because they have input from several sources and several people. Teams produce better goods and services. Teams improve processes. They don't just stand for status quo. So there's no question that teams are valuable, but there's also no question that it's hard to be a good team member. The Tour de France is going on right now. Do you like it? I don't know if you watch the Tour de France. I love the Tour de France. Every year, you know, we're excited to watch it. But we found this great thing. You can now watch it in 30-minute segments instead of the 4 hours that you had to previously. The NBC Sports has this new 30-minute segment. It's really a lot of fun. Talk about a team. When you see a team of cyclists out there working together to win the Tour de France, thinking that only one person's going to win this race, but the team works together to try to get one of their members to be that person that's in front. It's really quite interesting. And when you look at the definition of a team, I think it's important that we understand the definition, because I don't think we always get this. All right. So let's look at this definition together. 2 or more people. So far, so good. But wait, 2 or more people. That means two people are a team. Like, we belong to a lot of teams. I mean, if you have a significant other, that's a team. That gives me pause, because 2 or more people, you know, people will say, how many people do you need for a team? 2. Okay, who come together for a common purpose. Okay, we come together for a common purpose. That makes sense. But there's an and. Oh no. And who are mutually accountable for results. Well, wait a minute. 2 or more people who come together for a common purpose and who are mutually accountable for results. That's the kicker. If you have a group of people who are not mutually accountable for results, what you have is a work group, not a team. Completely different dynamic. So that's the first thing you have to decide with this group of people you're with. Are you mutually accountable? What's your purpose? What are your goals? If you're a team member right now and you're not clear on that, you could be a good team member by helping your team figure that out. Because maybe the fact is they're not a team at all. Or maybe they should be a team, but they haven't really thought about the fact that they're all mutually accountable. And we need to start there, because ultimately we're going for results, right? So we need to start right there, making sure that we all understand the purpose of our team and that we're all mutually accountable and that everybody is a part of that, right? So I think that's a really interesting thing to understand when we talk about being a teammate. Is just, first of all, you know, the definition of a team itself is maybe not what we really thought of as a team. And the fact that it's 2 or more people, that means there are so many sub-teams, right? I mean, if you and a coworker get together and you're working on a project, you're a team. So you may be a part of many, many teams in your own organization. Because anytime you have 2 or more people who come together for a common purpose and they're mutually accountable, that's a team. See what I mean about this being more complex than it used to be? Because that means that you have to be a good teammate over and over again in all kinds of situations, regardless of the number of people on your team. So what is your team's superpower? What do you bring to a team that makes you good? You know, there could be a lot of things. I mean, maybe your thing is that when there's a problem, you're able to be really candid. You don't mind being direct about talking about a problem. Or maybe you're the person who is really supportive and you have no problem offering support when people are struggling. Not everybody can do that. Maybe your superpower is that you have this energy and enthusiasm and team spirit. Raw team. That's good. You know, we need that. Not everybody can do that. Maybe that's your superpower. Maybe your superpower is that you push your team to take chances and to leap from tall buildings. You know, that's a superpower. That's good. We need all of these superpowers. We need all of these things to make our team really good and really effective. Maybe you're the logic person and you force us to come back and look at things from a logical viewpoint. Whatever your superpower is, using that superpower in a productive way makes you a better teammate and a better person. Our team needs your talent. And if we can use your superpower and recognize and accept that not everybody has the same superpower, that puts us a lot further ahead to begin with. So if you were just thinking, what behaviors would make a really good team? What kind of behaviors are we looking for on our team that would make it really, cohesive, great team? Well, these are the 5, and you might recognize these from Lencioni's work. Hey, it disappeared. That was cool. Results. I mean, ultimately, it's all about results. Accountability. But this is accountability in kind of a different way. I'll explain it. Commitment. Everybody needs to be committed. Oh, and this is a tough one, conflict. That's a hard one. We're not very comfortable with conflict, but you would expect that there would be debate. You would expect that not everyone would agree, especially if everyone's using their superpower, right? And trust. And you may recognize this as the model that Lencioni gives us in the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And what he's done now, he's worked with a company called Wiley, and they have a whole assessment process around this so that you can assess your team to see what your team's strengths are. And we turned these dysfunctions into behaviors of a cohesive team. So now what we're looking for is trust, conflict, commitment, accountability, and results. And just to dwell on this for just a minute, you notice this is a pyramid, and that's on purpose, because look what's at the base of the pyramid. Trust. Trust has to be first. Everything is based on trust. You have to have trust on your team, trust between 2 people, trust between however many people are on your team before you can actually have productive conflict. Because if you don't trust one another, you're certainly not going to openly debate. Once you can openly debate issues comfortably, then we can get to commitment. Then people can commit to decisions because they've had their say and they've been heard. Once we commit, it becomes easy to hold each other accountable, right? We're peer accountability. We trust, and we've talked about it. We've given our opinions. We've committed to it. So now it's a lot easier for me to say, William, this report was due Friday, and I need that report to do my piece, and it's not ready. Your part's not ready. When do you think you'll have it? And instead of William going all crazy on me, he's like, oh yeah, I'm a little behind on that. I think I can do that by, and give me an answer that helps me to do a good job too, instead of having to hide it. Well, I did that report. I submitted it. It must have got lost in the system. And that takes us to results. So you can see how everything is based in that pyramid. First there has to be trust. That's where we start. And that's where we're going to start in our discussion. Let's talk about trust, because this is trust, maybe in a way a little bit different than what you've heard it before. Lencioni calls it vulnerability-based trust, okay? Not predictive trust. Predictive trust is I can predict that you're going to be on time for work every day. But vulnerability-based trust means that I trust that if you screw up, you're going to fess up. I trust that you're going to admit when something's outside of your realm of understanding or abilities, that instead of faking your way through it, you're going to be honest with us. Confidence among team members that peers' intentions are good, and that there is no reason to be protective or careful around the group. It's basically believing that everybody is really trying to do the right thing. Everybody's trying to do good for the team. This takes time to build. It takes time to build because we all have different personalities and different ways of coming at things. This cartoon, I think, really explains a lot, because this is a picture of a team. And, I have to confess, this came from Harvard Business Review. And Don Moyer is the cartoonist, full credit. Okay, Harvard Business Review, Don Moyer is the cartoonist. And when I saw this, I was like, that explains everything. I have to show everybody this, okay? Because here's what we have. We have a team, and we have 4 people, and they're all working on the same mission. They have a common purpose to complete this puzzle. They're equally accountable. Everybody on the team is responsible for getting this thing done. All right. But what we see are 4 different people with very different thought bubbles in their head, a very different approach to completing this mission, to completing this puzzle. So the first person over here, look at her. She has this trophy. She's holding up one puzzle for you, one piece of the puzzle for you, and one for her. She's thinking if we do this, we're gonna rock this. We're gonna be the best team ever. We're gonna be awesome. Maybe she has that competitive spirit. She's very enthusiastic about it. She's probably our team cheerleader. Rah rah, let's get this done. Come on, everybody. She wants everybody just to get together and do it. Let's all get together. We all do this together. We can do this. Let's go. Second person you see, he's holding up his puzzle for you, and in his mind is bottom line. What's important is that we get this done. We can get together later, but we got to get this done on budget, on time, the way it's supposed to be done. So let's move forward. Let's get this done. Now, as I'm describing these, you may start to see yourself in one of these styles, or maybe someone that works with you on a team. The third one, now check him out. He is actually standing on his puzzle, because you see, what's really important is that we take care of our people first. We'll get this thing done, but let's make sure that everyone gets along, that everyone enjoys the process. I call him all about the love guy. See, he's like, come on, everybody, let's all do this together. Come on, it's good. We're going to get this. But it's not such a rush, because what matters is we take care of the people first, The last guy, you see him, he in his thought process sees this puzzle is complete, probably glued together already with that stuff you use to glue puzzles together, and it's perfect. It's exactly the way it's supposed to be, in exact order. He's our logic guy. He's the guy that's going to make sure we read those manuals and policies and instructions on how to put an IKEA desk together, right? So you can see these are 4 very different thought processes, and this is the basis of personality theory. So the people on our team are going to come from different approaches, not because it's personal, not because they don't like you, but because at the very root of being human, we all have distinct personalities. And those personalities come through on a team in different ways with different strengths and different challenges. If you want to be a good teammate, you identify where you are on this chart, and then you do everything you can to flex to someone else's needs. If you're that person who knows that this is just all about getting it done and having everybody enjoy it, all about the love guy, all about the people, but you're working side by side with this person over here who just wants this thing to be perfectly aligned, you're going to have to bend a little bit to really work with him as a good teammate, because he's very interested in results and you're more concerned about people. He's going to have to bend a little bit too. That's part of being a good teammate. So understanding that, like I said, this is vulnerability-based trust. It's when team members are comfortable, they quickly acknowledge without provocation their mistakes, their weaknesses, their failures, and needs for help, while recognizing the strengths of others, even when those strengths exceed their own. So this is part of being a good teammate. I'm going to try out a trust scenario on you. We're going to see, and you don't even have to tell anybody, what you do on this, but okay, so here we are. You're using one of your team's primary software platforms, and you accidentally delete a large block of data. Working on your own, you manage to restore the information. You're about 90% sure that you got it fixed. There will be no problem from this, no adverse effects. What do you do next? All right, so you can, if you're really brave and you want to put it in chat, that would be awesome. But if you don't want anybody to know the truth, I understand that too. So would you A, keep that issue to yourself? Nobody needs to know, it's all going to be fine. Or would you maybe wait to see if any teammates encounter problems? And if they do, then you can explain what happened. Or maybe C, go ahead and proactively notify your teammates of the situation and just fess up. See, this is a trust issue. I mean, what kind of trust do you have on your team? What do you feel comfortable doing? I see, did anybody put anything in chat, or is everybody, oh, somebody put C. All right, excellent. C is the best answer for sure, right? But you can see maybe within yourself that you might be tempted not to tell anybody. You might be tempted to try to just see what happens. Of course, C is the best answer for a team, because on a team where there's trust, we can admit that we screwed up. And yeah, this is bad. And this is what I've done to fix it. Let me know if there's any issues so we can try to work through it. But if you don't let the team know, people are not going to trust you in the future. That erodes trust on a team. And I tell you what, if you've been on a team like this where you have a trust issue, It can be one person. One person can bring down the whole team. Because according to the model that we're looking at with Lencioni, if you don't have trust on the team, you're not going to achieve results. You're not going to get the results you need. You may get results, but you're not going to get the results that your team should really be capable of accomplishing. So yeah, C is the correct answer here. So what did you say? You don't have to tell anybody. Oh, how about working remotely? I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about this a little bit as we talk about being a good teammate, because working remotely has really given us some challenges. You know, it's interesting because in some ways, it's made it easier to establish trust. And in some ways, it's made it harder. Some people that typically have problems talking in meetings are finding it easier to talk in Zoom-like environments. It's interesting. And what we're seeing is that some people who talk too much in meetings talk less in Zoom environments. So interesting, you know, online. Being stressed and isolated. Some people are just pulling really inward and focusing on controlling what they can. So they're less open to being vulnerable. The problem with trust on a remote team usually comes from the leader, because it takes a lot of patience and time to let things unfold so that team members can trust. Trust is largely about knowing each other and understanding each other. And teams that have an opportunity to, you know, go have a beer together or have that luncheon party together, or just talk to each other about where I came from and, you know, why I am the way I am, and understand each other's styles, they have a much easier road when it comes to achieving trust. Many times in remote environments, leaders are very focused on the agenda and not as likely to spend time just talking about how's your day? How are you? What's going on with you? How are your children? You know, we don't have time for that in a remote environment. At least that's our perception. And so that is making trust challenging. On the other hand, like I said, there are people who are more open in the remote environment than they were like face-to-face. I don't know why. Maybe they think we really can't see them, which I can't see a lot of people because a lot of cameras are off. So, you know, that could be. This is why when I'm having a meeting, I never allow them to turn the cameras off. I make them turn their cameras on so I can see. But yeah, so it can work either way, really. If you are a leader of a team with remote members, just be aware that you can't rush through things in order for people to get to know each other and establish trust on your team. You're going to have to address things the same way that you would if you were face-to-face. You know, take a few minutes just to check in with people and see how everybody is, and try to make that more comfortable for them to establish that trust, because you have to have trust before you can talk about conflict. And when there's trust, then the team members are able to engage in unfiltered, open, and constructive debate. Healthy conflict focuses on concepts and ideas to produce the best possible solution. This is an interesting one because Lencioni talks about this, about mastering conflict, and says that, you know, he's been criticized for calling it conflict on his pyramid. And he said that was on purpose because he didn't want to give the impression that conflict's easy. You know, you could call it debate. That's a much nicer word. But he said, no, you know, I want people to understand that conflict's hard. Good conflict, productive conflict is very helpful, but destructive conflict is not. Conflict is, you know, there's a lot of myths around conflict. Some people think that conflict is just nothing but bad. Some people think that, you know, teamwork just means we sit around together and sing Kumbaya. And some people think that conflict really squashes creativity. But the truth is that productive conflict is required for a team to grow. When it's constructive, it's used as an opportunity for positive change. It means moving forward together, turning differences into strengths, and it forces creativity. Learning what team members want and expect from each other, that's just a critical part in helping us to value and understand differences. People want to be heard. They want to feel like they're a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. And giving them an opportunity in a trusting environment to express their opinions is really important. When you have a team that fears conflict, you have boring meetings because everybody sits there and nods their head and goes along with whatever you say. That's not necessarily a good thing. William's nodding at me. I agree. When you look around the room and say, does everybody agree? And everybody nods their head and you're like, oh, that didn't take long. And you're congratulating yourself. You need to be kicking yourself because that means you got a problem. There's no way everybody agreed. So these meetings look all nice and sweet. But that doesn't mean that what's going on under the surface isn't very destructive. This is where personal attacks thrive because people aren't going to bring them up in the meeting. They take it out to the water cooler. Right? We ignore controversial topics that are critical to success. We fail to tap into everyone's opinions, and we waste time and energy with posturing and interpersonal issues. So if you have these great harmonious meetings, you should maybe think about whether it's real. A team that engages in conflict, they have more lively meetings because people are speaking up and openly debating issue. They get the ideas of all team members. That's so important. We have all these amazing people on our teams and we don't really go far enough sometimes in trying to use their talents. It helps us to solve problems quickly, minimizes politics, and puts those critical topics on the table for discussion. Many times a leader will really have a hard time with conflict because once two people start debating in a meeting, they get uncomfortable. I've seen leaders have two people having a really healthy debate, stop the debate and take a break because they just couldn't handle conflict. We have to find ways to have healthy debates and let people express their opinions. This is an important part of a team. If we never hear those opinions, then we lose a lot of good information. So let's have them. The caution is don't go too far the other way. It can become destructive. And how can you tell when it's destructive? When people are getting angry, when you're hearing inappropriate language, when you're not getting anywhere and you've been debating the same issue for an hour, yeah, it's gone too far. So it's all about having good, healthy, productive conflict. Let's get personal. Let's see what happens here with your conflict issue. What I want you to do is look at this graph and I want you to think about where you belong on the graph. Just where would you go? Would you say that you're like the calm debater? You tend to use measured dialogue and remain largely unruffled if there's conflict. You just kind of sit back and it's cool. Or are you more spirited? Do you get like expressive, show conviction, passion during the debate? Or would you say you're somewhere in the middle? Where are you? So personally, where do you find yourself on this chart? The reason this is important is because what we have to recognize is that with the personality styles that we talked about a few minutes ago, there are some people that fall in different places on this graph naturally. So if you're the really spirited debater, you're the one that's like, you're expressive, you're passionate, you show your conviction, and you're in the room with someone who's calm, you're just going to run over them. They're not going to say anything. They don't want conflict. They don't like conflict, right? It's uncomfortable for them. You're having a good time. They're dying inside. Meeting in the middle, that's what we're hoping for. We're hoping that you can say, okay, I recognize that Brett's just a really cool, quiet person. He doesn't like this. He's uncomfortable with it. So instead of like being in his face and run over him, I've got to back off with this and talk a little bit softer and easier so that we can both have a discussion on it. I might even have to call him out. So Brett, really, what are you thinking? Because he's not going to do it on his own. So this is one way you can be a better teammate. Just be aware of the differences that people have naturally in the way that they debate issues. How do you respond during conflict? Are you receptive? Are you the person who's really open to the ideas of others? Or would you say you're more steadfast? This is how it should be done. And I'm sticking with this and you're not going to change my mind. So you may be at one end or the other of this continuum and be extreme. And you can see how that's not good. But then again, it's natural personality style. There are some people that are just completely open to anything. And there are some people who are completely firm to their opinions. But recognizing that that's going on in the room and being able to move yourself along that continuum so that you can have productive and healthy conflict, that's what we're hoping for here. So where do you put yourself on the chart? Can you see where you belong? Can you see where you are? And think about somebody that you know that maybe is hard for you to debate with, hard for you to talk to. Maybe they're at the other end. And maybe if you could both just move a little more towards the middle, we could have a healthy debate. So what can you do to master conflict? Well, the first thing is just encouraging team members to actually express their opinion, even at the risk of creating disagreement. Let's ask each other, what do you think? And you have to watch for nonverbals, because sometimes you'll learn more about what they're thinking through their nonverbals, right, than what they say. Try to make it a common practice for your team members to ask the opinions of others during meetings. If you're the leader of a team, just make it common practice that you're going to ask the opinion of everybody in the room so that everybody has a chance to speak up and you can see where they're coming from. And before you just scoot to another issue, make sure that you've given it time for there to be an open, healthy discussion about whatever the issue is. When things start to get rough, don't just move on because we don't have enough time. One thing you could do immediately to be a good teammate is to ask your team what their opinions are on the way we're conducting ourselves. I call it the talk. What's acceptable for us? Is it okay to use foul language? Is it okay to raise your voice? Is it okay to just shut up when you have had it with all these people? Is it okay to leave the room with disagreement? What kind of our ground rules as a team? How are we going to handle these situations where we have conflict? So I think having an open, healthy discussion about how we master conflict is one of the things that you could do to be a good teammate. And what about when you're remote? Remote is tough because it's easy to misread people's intentions, especially when you can't see them, on the camera. And even when you can, there's so many little blocks to look at, you can miss something really easy. So that makes it a little harder. And it's also hard to jump into conversations. Some of us are kind of hesitant to jump in when two people are having a discussion. It's like, how do we interject? It's a little bit harder remotely. And also, I think because we have fewer informal conversations, we don't always get to the heart of the decision of what we're trying to do. And the nonverbals are really hard to read in this kind of an environment. So yeah, it presents challenges, but again, we have to have opinions of everybody. We have to have that healthy debate. So if you are on a team and you see that your team is just glossing over issues, be the one that's brave enough to speak up and say, hold on a second. I don't really think we've talked about this. I don't really think we're there. Because if we haven't established trust to the point where we can have a healthy debate about issues, we don't have a chance of getting commitment. Commitment to our decisions, commitment to what we're doing next. Cohesive team members understand and believe in the mission, and they're committed to making it happen. And when they're able to offer opinions and debate their ideas, then they can more easily commit. Do you sometimes feel that team projects suffer because people aren't committed enough? In a survey conducted by Wiley of managers and team members all over the country, 86% said yes, absolutely. 86% of the people surveyed said yes, absolutely. So how do we get commitment? Let's see. Which of these problems do you think is more problematic when it comes to commitment? This is a quiz. All right. So 1, people are refusing to commit to a decision they don't agree with. Well, that's definitely problematic. Or is it 2, people committing to a decision, but then they do things their own way when it suits them? That's a problem. I'm not sure yet if it's 1 or 2. Let's try 3. People committing to a decision on the surface, but then dragging their feet on following through. Well, shoot, that's a problem too. It must be 4, all of the above. No, wait. 4, people committing to a decision, but lobbying people afterward to change it. Well, there's actually no right answer. Because it really is all of the above. All of these behaviors can be destructive, and they can be tempting for all of us at different times. And this is why it's so important for us to make sure that team members understand that they have an obligation to commit to the team's decision, even if they disagree. One of the things that we really get hung up on here and get confused about, I think, is this whole thing about consensus. We think that if we have consensus, then we have agreement. That's not what consensus is. Consensus doesn't mean that we all agree. Consensus means that we agree that of all the choices we have, this is the best one. But see, here's where your productive debate comes in. If everybody's had a chance to express their opinions, we've heard everything, we value everyone's opinion, and then we go around and we test consensus, which means we go person to person and say, Julie, of all the decisions, all the things we've talked about, this is the decision we're leaning on right now. Do you agree that you can support this decision when this meeting is over? And we watch for Julie's reaction. She may nod, she'll say yes, or maybe she'll roll her eyes. Whatever she does, I need to go back and check on her to make sure she's good. If she rolls her eyes, okay, Julie, obviously something's bugging you. Let's hear it. What is it? We need to consider whatever you're thinking. And we do that from person to person on our team to make sure that everyone can support this decision once we leave the room. If we don't do that, if we don't get commitment, here's what's going to happen. Angie's going to walk out of the room after the meeting, and she's going to say to Josephine, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I can't even believe these people are going to do this. There's no way in the world this is going to work. And she's going to undermine the whole thing. Roger's going to walk out and he's going to do whatever he can to sabotage it because it's so stupid, because we didn't take time in the meeting to make sure that everyone agreed this was the best thing, that we could all support it going forward. Let's try this activity. This is called go get it or get over it. You see, when you're on a team and you make these decisions, you sometimes have to either decide that you're going to pursue something or you're just going to get over it and move forward. So what we're going to do here is imagine that your team has just decided on the direction of its next project. And we're going to look at some possible concerns that you might have about the decision. And for each one, your job is to decide whether you should go get whatever you're missing or whether you should simply just get over it. Okay, so you're at the beginning of this initiative and you're not really sure who's responsible for moving the project forward. So is it something you need to go get or get over? Okay, so here we go. Ready? Here's the first one. I'm not sure who's responsible for moving this project forward. So should you go get it? I mean, should you pursue it? Should you go find out? Or should you just get over it? What do you think? I'm seeing some chats. I'm going to peek real quick. Get it. Get it. Oh, you guys are good. Absolutely. Get it. That's the right answer on this one. You've got to go get this one. You need to know who's responsible. That's important. So you go get this one. All team members should have an understanding of the assignment that comes out of any team decision. So speak up to make sure that there's clarity. See, the two really important things here on commitment are clarity and buy-in. So clarity, this is about clarity. Consensus is about buy-in. Let's try one more. I still think the idea I proposed is better than the one the team chose. What do you think? Should you go get it or should you get over it? Let's see what I'm getting in chat. Ha! You guys are good. Get over it. That's the right answer. Get over it. Because you had your meeting, you had your chance to speak up, and the team together came to consensus and chose this. You need to get over it and move on. Good job. I'm so proud. Once the team has considered all its options and made a decision, all members must commit to it regardless of where they fell during the debate. The important thing, it was debated. And we all agreed this was our best decision. So how effective is your team at gaining buy-in? And what can you do to improve commitment? One of the quotes in Lencioni's book, that's probably one of my favorite quotes of all time. He says, if you really want people to buy in, they have to have an opportunity to weigh in. If you want people to buy in, if you expect them to buy in, they have to have an opportunity to weigh in. And that's what commitment's all about. Everybody wants to have themselves, they want to be heard. They want to feel like their opinions are valued. So you make sure in this step that you're listening to everybody. And as a good teammate, you don't leave anybody out of this. You say, Yvette, we haven't heard from you and we value your opinion. What are you thinking right now? Check with everybody on the team to make sure that everybody agrees that going forward, they can support this decision, that you have commitment. You have to have commitment before you can go to accountability, right? So focus on goals, sell the vision, make sure that you're clear. Clarity is really important in what we're doing going forward. Make sure that you're having dialogue, not just conversation, but actual dialogue where two people talk to each other, not where just the leader talks and everybody nods their head. So inspire your employees, make sure that you have commitment. Because once you have commitment, and let's build it now. All right, so first we have trust. We trust one another. We have that vulnerability-based trust so that we're able to openly debate issues. Everybody gives their opinions. And once we've done that, now we've been able to commit to it, that we all agree that this is the best decision for the team. Now we can talk about accountability. Team members are accountable to each other and they hold one another accountable. Team members must be willing to call one another on behavior or performance that hurts the team. Now, see, this is interesting because we usually think of accountability as being something that the boss is responsible for. And the truth is that the boss has to demonstrate that they are going to hold people accountable. But once we have this model going and we have everybody on board, it's very easy for us to hold each other accountable as peers because we all committed to the same thing. We all agreed that we could do this and that this is what we needed to do moving forward. So now it's a lot easier for me to come to Roger and say, Roger, I'm supposed to be done with this today. I'm not going to make it. How does that impact you? What should I do? And Roger will help me out. Instead of Roger running to the boss and saying, hey, boss, Lorna was supposed to have this today. She doesn't have it. You should go get her. Right? So that's great teamwork, is when we're accountable to each other. Accountability. Would your work team be more effective if people were better at holding one another accountable? What do you think? The survey says, ready? 89% of the respondents said yes, absolutely. This means we have to publicly clarify what our team needs to achieve. Have regular team meetings where we're discussing performance and problems and not jumping to conclusions about the intent or motives of other people, because we trust one another. We can talk to people, we can hold each other accountable. We have to understand how to do constructive feedback, of course. How do we do that? We had a whole session on that. It's probably in the recordings. So being able to, give people feedback constructively because we're holding each other accountable. Just being self-aware and self-regulated and able to speak up. So holding others accountable. Let's look at where you are. Let's get personal again, because here are the extremes that we have. It's likely that you are someone who really addresses problems like all the time, boom, on it. Or you're at the other extreme. You just want to keep the peace. So where are you on this continuum? Are you someone who sees a problem and just has to jump on it right now? Like there's just no question, I'm on this, and you're like in somebody's face. Or are you like, well, let me give it a little more time and it'll probably work out. Where are you on the continuum? And recognize that if you're at one end or the other, wherever you are, there are times when you need to move along that continuum to have an effective team, right? Keeping the peace can be a good thing, but not always. And addressing problems can be a great thing, but not always, right? There's a time when you have to be able to move along that continuum, depending on the person you're working with, to get the best result. Can you see that? And the same with the second continuum. Are you attentive to feelings or do you stick to logic? Remember our little puzzle guy? You know, we had the all about the love guy. You know, he was just really worried about the people and their feelings and wanting people to really enjoy this process. But you had that logic guy who was like, people schmeeple, you know, let's get this thing done and get it done right and glued together, right? And what we find is that when we have those two extremes, that's a really hard dynamic for two teammates, isn't it? But knowing and recognizing in yourself where you are on this continuum helps you to be a better teammate, because you know that, you know, Carly, she has this tendency just to stick to logic. That's her world. And so I'm going to have to bend a little bit so that we can work together on coming back on that continuum a little bit and being a great teammate. So take a look at where you are on this. Want to be a better teammate and a better person? Acknowledge that not everybody is where you are on these dynamics. And being able to flex and bend your style a little bit in order to accommodate that. If we both do that, magic, right? So let's think about what the new normal would look like with peer accountability. Let's see. Team members would offer unprovoked constructive feedback to each other. Wouldn't that be nice if you weren't worried about what people were thinking about you, or thinking about your work performance, because we had so much trust on our team that we were able to openly talk about issues, all commit to the same thing. And you didn't have to worry, because if you screw up, somebody's going to come and say, hey, do you need some help with this? And it's coming from a good place, not from being destructive criticism, but from a good place, productive criticism. Team members feel pressure from their peers and the expectation to perform. That's the new normal. You don't have to run to the boss and tell on me because I feel that pressure from my peers, right? And that's really a great thing. You know, one of the things that we've talked about in the history of management is self-directed teams. I don't know if you've ever been on a self-directed team, but when you have all that pressure coming from your peers because you're all equal, whoa, it's a lot. So having everybody who feels that pressure, not just because they might get in trouble with the boss, but because I'm a member of this team, I have a role in it. I know what I need to do. I'm committed to do it. And I don't want to let my team down. What a great place to be. Team members are expected to confront peers. You're expected to. You have permission to confront your peers. And your peers are not going to be mad at you because we're all doing this the same way. We're all holding each other accountable. Team members question one another about approaches and methods. Are you sure that's the best way to do that? I tried it this way and it worked better for me. You know, if we could have those kind of open conversations, that could be our new normal. Can you see how that would really improve our team's ability to perform? Right? Wouldn't that be nice? Takes out all that personal stuff and all those politics. Because once we have this new normal, once we understand accountability and we're accountable to each other and we take care of each other in that way, only then can we actually make it to results. I mean, really, this is the bottom line. It's all about results, right? Team members focused on team results and put the needs of the team above their own. The achievement of results is the ultimate goal, and collective results is the top priority. It seems obvious that a team would be focused on their results, but many teams struggle with this. And there are some business models in the world who make this really difficult for us. I was at an SBDC conference when somebody came up and I did a session similar to this. And they were saying to me how each one of their teams was competing with another team for best performance. and that they were putting up charts and all kinds of stuff to show which team was performing the best. Well, you can see that what happened with that is it didn't go well. The results weren't good because instead of being focused on the team goals, the team results, it made me focus on my team. My team had to be better than Brett's team. Right. What we're looking at is the whole team, the big picture, the big team, you know, as an organization being great, not having me and Brett in a competition. And that's why we get off track with results sometimes, because we're focused on the wrong things. Having team members who are really focused on the needs of the team and putting the needs of the team above their own, that's what we're looking for here. You know, these are the people that get up in the morning and have a headache and say, dang, I have a headache. Let me take 2 Advil and get to work because my team needs me. Versus, dang, I have a headache. Sick day. Focus on achieving collective results, the ultimate goal of building greater trust, healthy conflict, commitment, and accountability is one thing, the achievement of results. I mean, that's really what it's all about. So what drives results? We have team members who value collective success more than individual achievement. And how can that be? How can a team member value collective success more than an individual achievement? It's because we built it all along the way. We trust one another. We're able to openly debate issues. Everybody's valued. Everybody's opinions have been heard. We all committed to the same thing. We're holding each other accountable. And what matters now is the success of all of us, not just me. Because if all of us succeed, I succeed. That's a team, right? Team members willingly make sacrifices for the good of the team. Yeah, I wanted to go on vacation, but I can put it off a week. Each member takes personal responsibility to improve the team's performance. They hold each other accountable, and they're quick to point out the contribution of others. And you can see that what happens here is the role of the team leader begins to be not so star-studded because the team leader is just a member of the team, and the team begins to lead itself and to lead its own performance. So the team leader is not stressed out all the time with HR issues and all these personal issues that can really serve to bring a team down. Now, there are distractions. You know, there are common distractions that get in the way. Probably one of the biggest things is when our structure is insufficient or ineffective, the process and structure, which means there hasn't been clarity. So you have to make sure that there's been clarity around everything that you're doing and everyone understands what we're doing here. Sometimes goals shift, or maybe they're too vague. These are the things you have to continuously revisit to make sure you're getting great results. A lack of shared rewards. You know, like in the situation that I was talking about before, one team got rewarded for great performance while the other team was doing well, but not as good as Brett. So they suffered. You know, Brett's out here getting kudos and I'm getting nothing. You know, Brett's getting gold stars and I'm like, you know, fine. And actually my performance is pretty great too, but his is better. You know, that's the wrong way. That's what happens when you set that up. There's more emphasis on personal goals than team goals. That happens, especially when we set it up so that it's a competition, that kind of thing. Sometimes there's a lack of urgency. Urgency is a really important part of achieving a goal. You want to maintain that urgency, that people really want it. They understand why it's so important. So what you do when you have those kind of things that get in your way, if you're at this point, well, you refocus. Sometimes you just need to refocus if you're not getting the results you need. And the first thing I would say is, you know, have a retreat and go back through the model. You know, start with trust. And, you know, do we trust each other? Do we know each other? Are we having open debates? What do you guys think? Do you feel comfortable productively discussing issues, you know, and expressing your opinions? Are we doing a good job of getting everybody on board to commit to our decisions, to get consensus? And are we able to hold each other accountable? We understand how to do constructive feedback so that it helps people instead of cuts them down. Are we doing that well? And are we clear on what results we're even looking for? So a retreat can be a great thing for this. If your team's not there, maybe go back and try that out. Revisit your goals. Make sure that your goals are the right goals and that everybody's clear about them. Make your results public. Let people know what's going on with your team. That's a really good incentive. Team rewards. Sometimes you just have to start over. What other things can you do? Like I said, I think creating that sense of urgency is really important. Going back and visiting all the steps of Lencioni's model so that you can see if your team even has a chance. And maybe even going back to the very beginning and looking at the definition of a team and making sure that this is a team. 2 or more people who come together for a common purpose and are mutually accountable for results. Are we really a team or are we a work group? Maybe we're behaving as a work group. That's Lencioni's model. It all starts with trust. We have to trust one another so that we can have productive conflict. Once we can have open debate, productive conflict, then we can talk about committing to decisions. Once we've done a good job of making sure that everyone's opinions have been heard and we're committed, peer accountability becomes much easier. And of course, it's ultimately about results. So I'm going to pause for questions and then I will close. So let me ask Brett, are you our host here on questions? Brett, you're muted.
I'm so sorry. I told you Zoom is just got the controls a little different. I'm back now. I just want to say yes, I am. And I'm here to answer questions. If you have them, please put them in the chat room. Happy to ask them. And we had some really good input, by the way. I'm glad everybody participated. And as we're going to see how everybody was on their sliding scales, it's pretty interesting because you really do want to be in the middle as much as you can for the first time ever, I think, in order to get along with other people, because most of us have personalities that are way out on the ends of somewhere or the other where, whichever it is, So I thought that was interesting that you brought that up, and thank you for sharing all of this, Lorna. If you have questions, go ahead, please pop them into the chat. We'll be happy to ask them and go over them. As I, for one, love the idea. I never even thought about the difference between a work group and teams. And you mentioned that early on, and you even closed with that, because to me, that's huge. That's just a thing that we always say, well, let's get into our work groups and get this thing done. But the truth is, you want to do it and approach in the mindset of it being a team. So I think that's interesting. And I've just changed my language now because of this conference. All right, here we go. How would you suggest handling accountability for someone that is not properly managing a team?
How would I suggest?
How would you suggest handling accountability when someone that is not properly managing a team?
Well, you have to go back to the beginning. I mean, you have to work the model. That's what I'm saying. It's like, it all has to start on that base of trust. You can't just manage one of these things without managing the one under it.
Right.
First we have to establish that base of trust. Until people trust one another. I mean, how can I call you out for not doing your job if we don't trust each other? I mean, that sets up competition between the two of us. So first, the leader really has to work on trust. There's a lot of activities you can do. I recommend reading the book, which is actually a fable. It's a really fast read. It's a good read. If you really don't want to read the fable, just go to the back and read the fine print. It explains it. There's a lot of activities you can do on each one of these to help you make sure that you're following them through. The big thing is talking with the team. I mean, actually, there's a whole huge program. I've been doing a program with one organization now for 3 months where, we're doing it 3 hours at a time where we're going through each one of these things with their team and helping their team to improve their skills in each one of these areas. You can do that just by understanding it and being aware. Start with trust, help people to get to know each other. allow people to openly debate issues because they trust, and so on. You know, I don't want to go through the whole monologue. You're probably getting tired of hearing it. But once you get to accountability, you've already established trust. You already have people expressing their opinions. You already have people who have committed. And if you haven't gone through those things, yeah, accountability is going to be hard.
Right.
Yeah.
On that thought, I was just curious. Somebody, by the way, was asking about video recording of this and wanted to know if the slides were included. She shared the screen, Yvette, just to let you know. And so it's actually being recorded as the video. So you'll be able to go through it with Ms. Kibbe speaking. I was just inspired again, when you have a very strong opinion network of people, people that have strong opinions on your team, and you reach a point to where there's definitely going to have to go one way or another because there is no fine line anymore to say there's middle ground. Where and how should you structure your team to where a decision can be made so that you can actually come up with a result? Because I've seen teams stall out.
Oh, that's a great
and basically go to lunch and never come back with anything done.
Oh, this is a good question. This is one of my favorite things. I love doing this with teams because there are ways where you can, like, I'll tell you a recent experience I had. I had a team who was trying to decide actually on a couple of things on an action plan for their team. And so what we did was, and it was virtual. So we went to breakout rooms, which you can do, you know, you can just, if you're doing it in person, just have a couple of people go off. And we had like 3 people agree on what they thought were the 3 most important things to do right now. All the groups came back together. We wrote all 3 ideas from each group up on the board, which guess what? There was a lot of duplication. Okay. So when it was over, even though we had like 4 groups, which would have been 12 ideas, there were really 6. All right, 6 things. So now what we did there, it's called nominal voting technique. There are ways that you can do this, but to make it really simple on Zoom, you know, I just had people say, raise their hand and say, you get to choose 2 of these 6. So let's vote. You get to vote twice. Right away, we had the 2 winners, you know, because those 2 that got the most votes, those were the 2 we went with. And then came the consensus part. All right, these are the 2 that got the most votes. Paula, when we leave here, can you support that this is the right thing for us? And Paula, in this case, said, no, I don't believe this is right. And inside you're going, well, shoot, I thought we had it. It was so easy. But, you know, then we had to stop and listen to Paula and say, okay, Paula, what's bothering you? Talk through that a little bit. The result came out the same, but Paula had been heard. Paula had expressed her opinion. And in the end, you know, when we said, okay, all right, Paula, so what do you think? You're going to be able to support it? She's like, yeah, I see. This is the right thing. And we moved on. So it's really a great way to make a decision as a team because everybody's opinions get heard. Everything gets out on the table. Brainstorming is great. It's just, it's a whole process. So effective. So effective.
That's good information. That's a very good way to resolve that too. Thank you. Because a lot of people think that it's always a democracy, but when you're in a situation where leadership is not a democracy,
yeah,
more of a dictatorship.
Right. And if you're doing this and you get stuck and you need an expert facilitator, I'm available. But many of these things leaders can do on their own.
Sure. Thank you for that. Okay. Any other questions out there? Well, then I guess, Ms. Kibbe, you can continue on.
Brett, I want to clarify one thing. I saw something just in passing from Carly. I think it was Carly. Let me look real quick. Carly said, Carly, are you there? Can you speak to me? It's hard sometimes not the silo. I wanted to hear more about what you were saying on that.
What's
Carly,
that?
can Carly speak to me? Carly asked, she said, it's hard sometimes not the siloed teams.
Carly, if you're muted and can't unmute, then please type in the chat and we'll be happy to.
Carly says she can't get off mute.
I think,
can you chat with me, Carly, and we'll tell people what you're thinking? Because I'm curious as to what you mean. Sometimes it's hard not to silo teams. Okay. Well, Carly, if you want to have a discussion afterwards, or
There it is.
what I meant was when you were talking about teams being competitive and not working for the overall goal. Okay. This is exactly what we're talking about, is trying to get rid of the silos, because as I showed in the beginning, teams no longer look like siloed teams in the real world. It's becoming very hard to maintain a silo model. And it's not healthy for most organizations. So, using these techniques, that's one of the important things about this is, there's a whole program for this directed at a team, but there's also a whole program directed for individuals, which is what we're talking about here, is like how to be a better teammate, to help people understand what all these dynamics are on a team and to participate in making it a better team just because they understand it. We all have to take responsibility for it. And I think that's one of the key lessons that I want you to leave with understanding today, is that it's not just the leader's job. It's everybody's job. It's everybody's job to be a better teammate, which helps the leader, but it's not just the leader. We can't put this all on one person, because a team is mutually accountable for results, right? Mutually accountable. So that means we all have a role in this.
Very good.
Yeah, so thanks, Carly. Good luck. Okay, anything else up there? Shall I close, Brett?
Go right ahead.
Okay, so what do you have to do here? We have to take action. You have to find your superpower and use it to be a better teammate and a better person. You have a superpower. You have a personality. You know yourself. You know what you're good at and what you're not good at. Just think about things that you really enjoy. Those are your strengths. And think about things that just drive you crazy. And know that if those things drive you crazy, it's not individuals that's driving you crazy. It's those things. That's just your personality. So instead of blaming other people for the things that just drive you crazy anyway, fess up to it and be that good teammate. It's everybody's responsibility. So I'm thinking about you being this person who's on multiple teams and becoming like a team guru. Imagine that you're the person on the team who's really doing the job of helping everybody to understand how to get the results we need, how to be a better team. Grab the book, give me a call, study it online, but be that good teammate. And that will make you a better person at the same time. And our teams will be a lot more effective and have great results. So be that person. Take action.
Very good.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. If I can be of assistance, again, just a reminder, I didn't steal Patrick Lencioni's material. I am licensed for it. Here you go. I was worried people think I'm stealing their stuff. No, I'm licensed. So, all right. Thank you. If I can be of any help on that, let me know.
Thank you very much.
You.
All right. Well, that is huge. It was a great day for that. And being a good part of the team as a teammate, I want to let all of you know that we're sending out surveys. And as part of our team, we want your feedback. We want your input to make sure that we are providing good quality training and development for all of you out there. So if you would, please, when you get the survey, take the 2 minutes to just fill it out, get it back to us and let us know. There's also a place at the bottom of those that say, hey, I'd really like to know more about, and you get to fill that part in. So maybe we can create a class for you on that, or not just for you, but for all the others that are thinking like you and may need some assistance in that area. So with all that said, I also want to let you know that we have plenty of things coming up soon, as I shared just a moment. Hopefully you can all see the screen here. The 12 must of a website that converts. We just, on July 20th coming up. Also, Money Habits of Successful Entrepreneurs by Rebecca Schultz. She's back. This is going to be really interesting for those of us that can't seem to manage our money well, or the habits we have maybe get in the way of our entrepreneurship. So on the 21st, the keys to success and how to get along with people. All people. That's Ms. Lorna Kivy coming back, and we're really happy to continue this as we're learning to be really good team members and being and creating good teams within your workplace. So we're happy to have you all here, and we'll extend that into August 3rd and 11th with networking online and offline by the Beyond the Pandemic by Marsha Hudson, and Ashley Cook will be giving us on the 11th of August, what is a copy and why you need it to grow. And for all of you that attended today, we do definitely appreciate it. Don't forget, you can always go to the SBDC website to get all of this information and more. If you need perhaps to talk to a counselor one-on-one or an advisor, be happy to make those arrangements on the website. In fact, there you can also register for more webinars, get contact information for anybody at the SBDC, as well as schedule an appointment, as I said, with an advisor. Resources for small business owners all over the place. If you need something, please just ask. We're happy to do it because we are funded and we want to make sure that all of these things come to you at no cost to you. We want to thank the Small Business Administration, the state of Texas, North Central Texas SBDC regional office, and of course, North Central Texas College, which all go together to make this possible. Thank you for joining us today. We absolutely look forward to seeing you next time. And we're so happy to have Miss Lorna back. And Lorna, if you have any closing remarks you'd like to say, I just want to say thank you. And that's from all of us.
I thank everybody for being here with us today. I'm proud of you for coming out and doing what you can to improve your skills. That speaks volumes about you. So thank you for being willing. Now take action on what you learn and then do great things.
Fantastic.
For an excellent presentation.
Yep.
Thank you.
As always. And thank you so much. If you want to get in touch with her, don't forget, she just gave you her information to get it in touch with her. And this will conclude our webinar for today. Go make a difference.